Thank you very much. Over the last decade, a wide array of concerns has called into question the safety of the thousands of chemicals that we encounter in our everyday lives. Let me just mention a few of these, many more of which are in my written statement. Lead began showing up in a host of children's products, finally leading Congress to impose a ban, only to have another toxic heavy metal, cadmium, immediately take its place. PBT chemicals that several members of the subcommittee have already mentioned this morning, that we were told we would never be exposed to, are now routinely being found in the dust in our homes, in our environment, and even in the bodies of people living in the most remote parts of the globe. EPA cannot tell us with any accuracy how many chemicals are actually in commerce today, and it is forced to perform Google searches to find out how chemicals like the hormone-disrupting bisphenol A are actually used, because it lacks adequate authority to require reporting of chemical production and use. 85% of new chemical notices received by EPA have no health data whatsoever, because unlike every other developed country in the world, the U.S. lacks a requirement that companies submit a minimum data set when they notify EPA of a new chemical. EPA does require testing occasionally, but only in a few % of cases. These problems, Mr. Chairman, can be directly attributed to the failures of the Toxic Substances Control Act. Happily, H.R. 5820 would largely or completely ameliorate these problems. It provides a comprehensive, systematic solution to a set of problems that we have addressed, if at all, through a reactive, piecemeal approach. H.R. 5820 will help to protect our health and our environment while also encouraging innovation, ensuring the use of the best and latest science, and meeting the needs of the market and consumers for better information. Let me touch briefly on these three. First, it will encourage innovation and protect American jobs. It will allow safer new chemicals, or those serving critical uses, to enter the market without a safety determination and provide ready market access to innovative, greener chemicals. It will level the playing field between new and existing chemicals, for the first time requiring existing chemicals to meet a safety standard. And by raising overall U.S. standards, it will help U.S. companies compete in a global economy where customers are demanding safer chemicals and products. Second, H.R. 5820 will be informed by the latest science. It will spur more effective and efficient testing methods that also reduce cost and the use of animals. It will adopt the same tried and true risk-based safety standard that Congress enacted with overwhelming bipartisan support 14 years ago in the Food Quality Protection Act. And it takes the common sense approach of assessing the aggregate of exposure to different uses of a chemical and to protect the most vulnerable among us. It incorporates the recommendations of the National Academy of Sciences and calls on EPA to frequently update its methods to incorporate the newest and best science. And it calls for expedited reductions in the exposure to PBT chemicals, a particularly dangerous class of chemicals that have been targeted by authorities across the globe. Finally, H.R. 5820 will spur the development and access to better information about chemicals, vital not only to EPA safety decisions, but also to empower the market to move toward safer chemicals well in advance of government regulation. It will also directly respond to the growing demand for such information by many American businesses and from consumers. As to workability, given the large number of chemicals involved, the legislation reasonably phases in requirements over a number of years. It gives EPA the authority to tailor requirements rather than being one-size-fits-all. It allows EPA to categorically exempt intrinsically safe chemicals, and it allows companies to protect legitimate trade secrets while still allowing EPA to share that information with state governments where needed. Mr. Chairman, I strongly urge the subcommittee to advance this critically important legislation in this Congress. It represents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to protect American people and our environment from dangerous chemicals. Thank you.